There is a very specific moment that most men never talk about. It is a quiet moment, one that usually happens when you are doing something totally normal. Maybe you are sitting in a small cafe, walking down a busy sidewalk, or standing in a group of people at a party. You look up and you see a younger woman looking at you. She isn't looking through you like you are a ghost. She isn't looking past you to see someone else. She is looking right at you. In that tiny second, something deep inside you wakes up. It is a feeling that happens before your brain even has a chance to think. But then your brain kicks in, and it kicks in hard. You tell yourself that you must have imagined it. You tell yourself she couldn't possibly be interested. You convince yourself that what you felt was just you hoping for something that isn't there. You hide that feeling away because you don't want to feel embarrassed. You keep moving. But even after you walk away, something stays with you. That feeling isn't you being silly. It isn't you being full of yourself. It is actually something your body noticed before your doubts could push it down. What your body felt was real. Now, I am not going to sit here and tell you that how old you are doesn't matter. That wouldn't be fair and it wouldn't be true. Age is a real thing. But age does not matter in the way people usually say it does. You have been told a story your whole life. That story says that because of the year you were born, you are not allowed to be liked or wanted by someone younger. It says you are automatically out of the race. That story is not based on how people's minds actually work. It is just loud noise from the world around us. And that noise has made a lot of men miss out on something they really deserve to understand. There is one big reason why a younger woman keeps coming back to a man like you. It is deeper than how much money you have, how much you have done in life, or how confident you act. We are going to talk about that reason. But first, you have to understand something she probably isn't telling you. She might not even have the words to explain it to herself yet. She just knows how she feels when she is near you. Let's start by turning down all that outside noise so you can actually hear what is happening. You already know how the world reacts to this. You have seen people raise their eyebrows or ask questions that are meant to make you feel bad instead of trying to understand. You might have even started believing those voices yourself. There is a voice in your head that might say, "This is wrong," or "I'm just tricking myself," or "I'm only doing this because I can't handle getting older." That voice sounds very sure of itself. So most men just believe it. But here's the thing that voice never talks about. Feeling attracted to someone isn't a math problem. It isn't a social rule. It is something that happens in your nervous system. Your body's internal wiring doesn't look at a calendar before it decides how to feel. When a woman feels a spark toward a man, her body doesn't open up a computer program to check his age. She isn't running a math test to see if the gap between your ages is okay. What she is actually feeling way down deep are signals. She is feeling signals about whether she is safe with you. She is feeling signals about whether you are steady and solid. She is checking to see if you are really there with her or if you are just putting on a show. She is sensing whether being close to you makes her feel like she can be more of herself or if she has to hide who she is. These signals have almost nothing to do with how many birthdays you have had. They have everything to do with the kind of man you have turned into over time. The problem isn't how old you are. The problem is that you have been trying to understand why she likes you by using the wrong set of rules. You have been comparing yourself to a standard made for a completely different kind of attraction. That other kind is all about being fast, being new, and looking like a certain type of young athlete. If you use that ruler, you will always feel like you are failing. But that is not the ruler she is using. The things you have been quiet about or even felt bad about, like moving a bit slower, being more serious, not feeling a huge rush to prove yourself, those aren't things you need to fix. They are the very things she is looking for. They are the signals she is picking up. Some women hear those signals louder than anything else a man could give them. Most men, no matter their age, don't really get what is happening when an older man and a younger woman feel a connection. Other people assume she is just putting up with the age gap. They think she is giving up something she wants to get something else she needs. They think that one day the age difference will become a giant wall she can't climb over. They think her feelings are only halfway there, or that they have a best before date on them. But that is just not true. For a lot of women, especially those who are done with the drama of their early 22nds, the qualities that come from living a long life are the most important things. The years you have spent surviving and learning are not a hurdle she has to jump over. In many cases, those years are exactly why she likes you. Think about what life builds in a man who has really paid attention to his journey. It builds the ability to sit in a room without needing to be the center of attention. It builds the ability to let things happen naturally without trying to force them. It builds a kind of weight, not a bad weight, but a solidness. It's the feeling that this man has been through enough storms that he doesn't need to prove he's tough anymore. He has a place to stand that doesn't fall over just because people stop clapping for him. Now, think about what a woman's body and mind are actually looking for. Not what her friends say is okay, not what looks good on social media. I'm talking about the part of her that makes decisions before she even thinks about them. That part of her is looking for that solidness. It is looking for that quiet peace. It wants a man who doesn't have anything to prove to her. Imagine a young man walking into a room. He might be a little bit competitive. He might be nervous about making sure everyone knows he is important. He might tell loud jokes to get attention. You can see him easily. He has a lot of energy. He can be fun to be around. But then there is a different kind of man. He is the one who sits down and laughs quietly at something he thinks is funny without needing to explain the joke to everyone. He isn't looking around the room to see if people like him. His presence has a weight to it that doesn't ask for anything in return. She notices that second man. She might not know why she notices him right away, but she does. And for the first time in a long time, she feels like she can finally take a deep breath. Now, let's go even deeper. Noticing a man is just the start. What keeps her interested? What makes her think about you days later is something even more specific. Many men think women only care about how they look. While looks can matter, that's not the whole story. For many women, especially as they get a little older, the most powerful thing isn't what a man looks like on the outside. It is what it feels like to be near him. That feeling comes from tiny things she notices without even trying. She notices how you talk. Is your voice calm and not in a rush? Not because you are slow, but because you aren't worried. She notices if you are talking to actually share something or if you are just talking to make yourself look good. She notices the space between your words. A man who is scared of silence will talk and talk because he thinks if things go quiet, he will lose her. But a man who is comfortable lets the conversation breathe. She notices your eyes. Do you look at her like you really see her? Not like she is just a pretty face to judge or an audience for your stories, but like a real person who matters. And then there is performance. This is a big one. It's hard to describe, but you can feel it instantly. When a man is performing, when he is changing himself to try to make her like him, it creates a weird feeling in her. Her body starts working extra hard, constantly checking to see if he is being real. That is exhausting for her. It makes it hard for a real connection to grow. But a man who is just himself, who isn't trying to manage how he looks or what she thinks, does the opposite. The stress goes away. She doesn't have to keep checking to see if you are lying or acting She relaxes in a way she might not even realize. She might be talking to you and suddenly realize she hasn't looked at her phone once. She isn't worried you're going to say something mean or try to compete with her. She isn't feeling that nervous energy of a man who needs her to tell him he's good enough. She is just there, and she is exhaling. She doesn't have a list of reasons why, but she feels the difference, and it matters a lot to her. There is another thing older men have that they don't even realize is a superpower. It is how they handle silence. Most men feel like they have to fill every quiet moment. They think a pause in the talk is a mistake they have to fix. They try to find a joke or a new story to tell before the last moment is even over. At some point, she will test the silence. Maybe she just stops talking for a minute while she thinks. The way you handle that silence tells her everything. If you panic and start talking fast, she sees that you aren't settled inside. It shows you need things to be moving to feel safe. But if you can just sit there in the quiet and be okay with it, you are telling her something wonderful. You are telling her that you are comfortable with yourself. You are telling her that the space between words doesn't scare you. You are telling her that you don't need her to constantly entertain you or tell you you're great. You stay present. You don't fidget. You don't try to change the subject. You just hold that space. When you do that, she often leans in closer. The silence becomes a bridge that connects you, not a wall that separates you. This isn't a trick you can learn from a book. You can't fake this for long. It only happens when a man has actually reached a place where he likes who he is. It happens when you have lived enough life that quiet doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels like a big, comfortable room. This brings us to a very important point that many men never truly understand. We have been leading up to this. Everything we talked about, the stillness, the presence, the way you handle silence, all of it points to one thing. We are going to look at that thing now. A younger woman who likes an older man isn't being silly or naive. She isn't just following a whim. In most cases, she is doing it because she has learned some hard lessons. She has information. Many of these women have already tried the correct way. They have been in relationships with men their own age where everything looked perfect on paper, but it felt wrong in real life. They have been with partners where they always had to be on guard. They have been in relationships where there was love, but no peace. Maybe the guy was nice one minute and angry the next. Maybe every disagreement felt like a giant explosion. She spent all her energy trying to keep the other person happy instead of just living her life. She knows what that costs her. She has felt the tiredness that comes from loving someone who hasn't figured themselves out yet. She isn't even blaming them. She just knows she doesn't want that anymore. When she meets a man who is already built, who can have a disagreement without getting mean, who doesn't have to win every argument, and who is just stable, she reacts with her whole body. She feels a huge sense of relief. It's the feeling you get when you've been bracing for a hit that never comes. If you disagree with her and instead of getting cold or defensive, you just calmly explain your side, she feels safe. If you don't need her to give up her ideas just so you can feel strong, she notices. She might tell a friend later, "He doesn't make me feel small. He isn't scared of me being smart or strong." That is her saying she feels safe. It's a safety she couldn't find with other men. Not because those men were bad, but because they weren't home in themselves yet. She isn't looking for a father. She isn't trying to fix some old family problem. She is simply recognizing something she has wanted for a long time and finally found it in you. Let's slow down for a second. What we are about to talk about is the deepest part of this whole topic. It requires you to really look at yourself. There is one thing she is watching for more than your money, your looks, or your success. She is watching to see if you will let her be her full self. Most men, without even knowing it, put a lot of pressure on women. They want her to be a certain way so they can feel good. They get happy when she is sweet and quiet, but they pull away when she is having a hard time or being difficult. Their mood depends on her being easy to deal with. She can feel this even if she can't explain it. So she starts to change herself. She doesn't say what she really thinks. She hides her strong feelings. She tries to be less so the man doesn't get upset. She gets smaller. But a man who is truly comfortable with himself doesn't do that. When she says something that might be a little spicy or bold, he doesn't flinch. When she has a big emotion, he doesn't run away or try to fix it like it's a broken sink. He just lets her feel it. He makes room for all of her. Imagine she says something to test the waters. Maybe a strong opinion she's a little nervous about. She is watching to see if it is safe to be real. If you don't get defensive and you don't try to change the subject to something lighter, she can finally relax. You just listen. You stay grounded and you aren't scared. This is what she has been waiting for. She doesn't need a man who is perfect. She needs a man she doesn't have to hide from. Now we have reached the main point of everything. This isn't actually about age. It never was. At the very bottom of it all, she is asking one question with her heart and her body. That question is, do I feel more like myself when I am near this man? She isn't asking if she feels more pretty or more wanted. She is asking if she feels like the real version of herself. The version that is complicated, messy, smart, and alive. She is checking if being near you makes her feel like she can grow bigger or if she has to shrink to fit. And what you have spent your life building, even if you didn't know it, is the ability to be a man who lets others grow. That is a very rare thing. When she is with you, she stops having to explain every little thing she does, not because she has nothing to say, but because she knows you won't judge her. She laughs a real laugh, not a fake one she uses for polite company. She can be quiet without feeling like she's being boring. It's not because you did something magic. It's because you didn't pull against her. The age gap is just a number. What she is really feeling is the safety, the space, and the solidness of a man who doesn't need her to be smaller. That quality has no birthday. It is just rare and beautiful, and she saw it in you. You might have asked yourself, am I too old for this? But that wasn't the right question. The right question is, am I a man whose presence helps someone else feel free? If the answer is yes, and for many men who have learned from their lives it is, then your age is actually a gift. It is something worth being near. The right woman doesn't just deal with your age. She loves what those years have turned you into. You don't have to shout this from the rooftops. You don't have to prove it to her with expensive gifts or fancy words. You just have to be that man. Stop feeling sorry for the years you have lived. Those years built the man she is looking at. You are not a worn-out version of a younger man. You are the finished product of everything you've been through. When you stop trying to play by the rules of younger men and just let your own solid weight be felt, you will find something the world never told you. She wasn't looking at the gap between your ages. She was looking at how solid you are. If this makes sense to you and helps you see yourself in a kinder, more honest way, there is much more for us to talk about. The next step isn't about learning tricks. It's about understanding what she needs before she even knows it herself.